All right, well, welcome to the 2020 MildyCon Virtual Comic-Con Gaming Panel. So as you can obviously see here on the screen, we have lots of guests for you. Some are hairier than others. Lance is waving down there in the corner. So this is the second annual event for you, but it's your first virtual event. So we hope today you enjoy this. So my name is Ray Whitaker. I'll be the moderator during today's USO Gaming Panel. Over the last couple of weeks, we've put together some questions. You've put questions together, and today we're going to answer those questions. Some of the answers are going to be really good, and some are probably not going to be that good, but that's okay. We're going to do our best for each of you. Our guests that we have today, each one of them has a connection to the military. So at some point in their life, they have been in the same locations you've been. So today, they're now all inside of gaming, inside the gaming industry, doing different positions and different jobs, and all of them have a career in it. So we're going to kind of piece through that to learn a little bit about them and what they do. I want to give a special thanks to all the service members, the families, and of course, all the supporters that are watching this. Thank you for what you do every single day for us. And hopefully you get a little bit of entertainment from the group here, and I'm positive that you will. Additionally, thank you to the 100th Force Support Squadron for inviting us to present this today. Obviously, we would not be here if it wasn't for you. And we all love talking about gaming, Ian more than most. So I'm just going to warn you. The MildyCon has an assortment of great activities for each of you. So if you're watching this is just one activity of many. We would tell you to go on to the website, find something. Probably the thing that I'm most interested to learn about is the gamer-friendly recipes, because it seems like I'm eating an exorbitant amount of food right now. So we're going to continue to move forward to that. We also have some other things the USO is putting on for each of you. We hope that you enjoy it over the next couple of days. Now, let me introduce my esteemed guests, the ones that are really going to be answering the hard questions today. I want to tell each of you, thank you for attending. Thanks for taking your time. I know each of you are busy, so appreciate you coming in. I'd love to kind of just go around and get a little introduction from you, learn a little bit about your connection to the military, how you got into gaming, and then what you currently do. So without further ado, let's push it over to my good friend, Lance James.
Hey guys, Ray, definitely thanks for inviting me and having me part of this great group of guys here. I guess starting off, I'm an 8-year U.S. Army veteran. Spent lots of time all over the United States, out of the country, just kind of doing that sort of stuff. Got into gaming through esports. I did that a long time ago. But these days, I'm actually head of production for Versus Evil, which is an independent publisher. I've worked for Tron Worlds. I've helped work with Crytek. Worked with several other bigger companies as well on multiple games. And so one of those things where I didn't know a whole lot getting in, but I started off really small as a community manager and kind of worked my way up and around the industry and just grew from there. Great.
Well, it's thanks for joining us today, Lance. Next will be my second friend. I don't have a lot of friends, but I call these guys my friends. Christian Allen.
Hey guys, I'm Christian Allen. I have in the military. I was active duty for 4 years in the Marine Corps in Southern California, where I went nowhere and did nothing, and spent another 5.5 years in the Air Guard and the Army Guard, where I also went nowhere and did nothing. And I got into games actually right after I got off active duty in the Marine Corps. I started making mods for a little game called Rainbow Six. And spun that into a job at Red Storm Entertainment as a game designer. So spent about 5 years at Red Storm. I worked my way up to creative director on the Ghost Recon franchise. Then I went over to Bungie, where I was design lead on Halo Reach. Spent some time at Warner Brothers, where I worked on Mad Max and some Lord of the Rings and some DC stuff. And then I started my own studio, ran an independent studio for 5 years. Till my wife said I had to get a real job again that paid twice a month. And so about 3 years ago, I joined Epic, and I am actually an evangelist for Epic Games. I focus on the Unreal Engine and helping smaller indie developers, focusing on the US and Canada, helping them put their games out. So it's a pretty cool gig, and thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not sure. I feel like I need to compensate. I should be doing more in life. Seems like you've done a little bit of everything already.
I get around a lot.
Yeah. So next we're going to introduce Derek Mallon. Punji Stick, as most would know him online, so we'll just call him Punji throughout the rest of the time. I'll abbreviate it just because he gets fired up. Derek is a Twitch partner, and he's also part of our USO Gaming Ambassador program. So love to hear a little bit about you, Derek.
Cool. Hey, Ray. Thanks. Of course, thanks for having me on. And I did the Marine Corps for 5 years, active duty, a couple all expense paid trips to Iraq and Afghanistan, good times, stationed in Hawaii in the meantime, which was kind of nice little change of pace between the deserts. And so got out of that, jumped into college for a while, and then when I got an opportunity to become a commentator for ESL for Rainbow Six Siege, I dropped out of school and went to go live in Poland for a while, and now I've been doing the streaming thing and gaming thing as a career ever since.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today, Derek. And last, definitely not least, with Duck Hunt as the background, my colleague, Ian Wright.
Yeah, hey everyone. Like Ray said, my name is Ian Wright. I am the new USO Gaming community manager. So what that means is I am in charge of basically building our online presence for all things gaming and esports, and getting our community to grow. So I run the Discord. I kind of do the back end behind the scenes stuff for our tournaments, and I do a little bit of what we call talent wrangling, which means holding Punji's hand and getting him place to place online. So a little bit of everything. But I 4-year Army veteran, played games my entire life, went to college, dabbled a little bit in esports, played on a challenger team for a little bit, and then started kind of doing this full time. So it's been a wild ride so far.
That's right. And it's going to get more exciting as we go. It's like you're cresting up the hill. You just don't know what's on the other side. So I can't wait till you see that. We didn't tell him that before we started this. So these are a lot of hard-hitting questions. I just want to start that off. So Lance, I'd love to hear top 3 games of all time.
So this is tricky because all time encompasses some older games that
That's right.
may not stand the test of time all that well. However, I'm going to go ahead and say Contra, Super Mario Brothers 3. The third one's a bit of a toss-up because I spent a ton of time with the game, but I'll say PUBG, even though it is what it is these days.
Okay. All right. Christian?
There's no wrong answers here.
Yeah. Well,
There's a couple. There's a couple wrong answers in here.
I don't know.
So I'll go with some newer stuff. Probably the biggest games for me. I'll go with most impactful games. So first off would be Rainbow Six, and that's not just because I worked on the franchise, but because it's really what got me into the industry. The transition for me from fast-paced Quake style, Unreal Tournament style to creating the entire tac shooter genre was a big impact. Second, I would probably go with the Fallout series, but to take it back to the root, I'd have to say, the original Wasteland of kind of setting up that original genre, and then probably Fallout 3, or maybe New Vegas, whichever. We'll just call Wasteland. And then the biggest one for me that probably a lot of people haven't heard of it was a game called Starflight. It was developed by it was published by EA. Studio was called Binary Systems, and it was an exploration sci-fi game. Think Mass Effect, but on 5.25-inch floppy disks. Had 256 stars, solar systems that you could explore with all procedural generated planets, and it was completely insane on a 286 for what it did. So if you're bored, check that one out. It's pretty amazing with the breadth of what gaming could be in the future.
Yeah, the floppy disk, I think you lost half the people.
I don't think
It's like 8-track, right? When they say 8-track.
Yeah, it's like a big iPod that goes in your
All right, Derek.
All right, I'm also that's a real loaded one. Like Lance said, it's tough to compare the nostalgia of old games like GoldenEye on N64 and things like that to the things that I just played a crap ton of. So I'm gonna go with the crap ton of, and it's a Fallout series for sure. all of them, even 76. Good game. The Counter-Strike series, even though I don't even play.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. All right, fun game. How about no? Maybe not. We'll pick the word differently. Fun game, one way or another. The Counter-Strike series for sure. Even though I don't even play Counter-Strike anymore, I just watch it. I love watching the pro scene. It's one of the only esports that I really follow.
I still watch it. I haven't played it in a long time.
Yeah, I'm like it's like a real sport to me in that sense. Like I just want to sit back and like watch the pros play. I'm every once in a while, if like a major, I'll log in and like play 2 rounds and then be like, oh yeah, I'm terrible at this game, so I'm done. but it's still my favorite to watch. And then APB Reloaded, which is also probably another game no one's heard of. Very few people have heard of.
Yeah.
Love that game.
Well, good. All right, Ian, I'm a Duck Hunt. Let me just.
Yeah, off the rip, Duck Hunt. It was my first shooter. You know?
Imagine.
No. This is just purely for the nostalgia factor. No, my let's say top 3. I didn't realize we were allowed to name series because I feel like you're just encompassing a bunch, but we are, so that's fine. That helps.
I love them all the same.
And enough people that have said the Fallout series that I feel comfortable not saying it. I feel like it's been covered, even though it's like pretty much the top of my list.
To just say it. Just say it.
But the Witcher series. That one right there is getting The Witcher 3, if you want to get specific, I think is probably top 3 video game made all time. Like, it's not even an argument. But the Halo series, because I sunk more time into Halo 1 and 2 than is healthy for any teenage boy to throw into anything. And then for me personally, and this is like Derek's answer, just for pure like me, is I've sunk 3,000 plus hours into Smite, and I'm naming Smite. So like 4 people have played it. I'm cool with it. I love it. I'll talk all day about why I think it's like the best game ever. So, yeah.
There's
now I don't feel so bad about
right
Fallout 76.
Yeah.
So Lance, we'll start with you. Can you talk? I mean, obviously the transition process for the military has changed over the years. So, for you guys, you old salty folks, as we'll call you. How was your transition from the military into what would then become, gaming? How was that for you? Did you know that I'm going into gaming, I've got it set? Or was this just something that kind of happened as you started that transition?
So I had a history with gaming, and I had friends that still worked in the industry, and they kept kind of getting me to come interview and talk to people, and it's just kind of over on the side. It wasn't really my focus at any one point in time. But then I had a friend actually kind of get with me about a potential job, and that's when I got serious. And this was literally 7 months after I ETS'd, so it was maybe even 6 months after I ETS. Like, it was almost immediate, and it became really real. And I'll say the actual transition aspect of it was really challenging, going from that kind of scheduled, routine military life to a game development studio in California too.
It's liquid.
Yeah, it was something. I learned real quick about my opinions and what I should keep quiet and what I shouldn't keep quiet on, and it was challenging. But I will say, the military prepares you really well if you just if you don't force it, I guess is a good way to say it. If you just kind of sit back and listen for a little bit and kind of get that swing of things and the pace. For me, that was the biggest thing. Once I figured out how this place runs and like understand it a bit better, it's like, oh, this is easy. This is super easy compared to anything I did in the military. I can handle this.
Yeah, well, good. Christian, same question to you. How was yours?
Yeah, so I mean, I had a interesting transition. I'd already transitioned from active duty in the Marine Corps to the Air Guard, so it's pretty much, I'd already kind of transitioned to civilian life anyway. That was my dig on the Air Guard. No. But I got off active duty and I was working for the state. I was a child support enforcement officer in my day job, which, as you can imagine, is like the super best job ever. Like, everybody loves you. It's super rewarding and fulfilling and pays.
Made a lot of friends.
I made a lot of friends. Great discussions at parties. And I started making mods. Me and my friends would get together in LAN group, and then again, for you old folks, that's when or your young folks, it's when you would take your computer to your friend's house and all plug in together and play Age of Empires or Quake or whatever. And the sequel to Rainbow Six, Rogue Spear, had come out, and I started making mods for that. And I put them up on the internet. They got popular. And after about a year of that, I was doing it like at night, and a little bit on state time maybe. My wife was like, "All right, you got to either quit this or get a job doing it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went for the job, and I moved down to Arizona and started going to school. And that's actually when I transitioned to the Army Guard, and that's right when 9/11 happened. So I was in college, but I kept having to drop out like every time we do these local deployments to the nuclear power plant to protect it. And so I kept applying for jobs, and snuck my way into E3 and did all that fun stuff, and eventually got hired by Red Storm as an assistant designer. The military background obviously helped going into work for a company like Red Storm at the time that was working on Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon. So I was able to, kind of talk the talk.
It is a perfect fit if you think about it. I mean,
yeah,
things you're working on and the subjects.
Exactly. I could come in and, when it came to weapons and things like that. I was actually still in the Guard. I transferred out to the 1132nd in North Carolina. Which had some awkward, talk about a transition. The most awkward convergence that I had was I was helping out with an America's Army title, because Ubisoft actually published an Xbox 360 version of America's Army, and they had wanted me to work on it. And so I flew out to Fort Lewis, and I was meeting with this lieutenant colonel with the Stryker Brigade there, and talking about America's Army, and they're showing me around. I got to drive a Stryker, and it was super awesome. But I was still an E4 in the Guard at the time. So it was this super awkward. I'm calling people sir, and I'm calling people by their rank, and it's super awkward. And I'm supposed to be this video game nerd, and finally I just said okay, I'm a civilian now. I'm in civilian mode now. I'm just gonna be in civilian mode and just try not to bring any military stuff, because it's just too weird to be in that situation. But yeah, it was super good, and the military background has been valuable throughout all. It helped on Halo Reach. One of the reasons, if you're a fan of Halo, if you notice on Halo Reach, the troops that you're with in Halo Reach are UNSC Army. And the reason why they changed from the Marines to the Army in Reach is because in the previous Halos, you'd all been shipbound. And so everybody that with you was a Marine. And on Reach, you're on the planet. And so the planetary force was the UNSC Army versus the UNSC Marines. And you can actually see it in some of the design differences between the characters. So that kind of experience helped. And then, most employers in general, they know you can finish stuff. They know you can complete stuff. They know you're going to move on and execute. I think it's definitely a benefit.
No,
yeah,
great.
Hey, Christian, just want to let you know that my recruiters had America's Army on the Xbox 360 at the recruiting station when I was joining the Army. Just to put some dates out there like that.
So in my defense, I only went on that initial thing, and then I had to go work on Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, which was a good career move. That project was
that was a fun game.
Yeah, it was one of those few games where I don't know who insisted on the whole surrender thing, that you shoot people and they'd surrender, and because it was supposed to be force on force training. For a while, it was going to be all what was the old before simunitions. You'd shoot people and they'd beep. They'd go beep.
Miles.
Miles. Yeah, Miles. That was just way too lame. So they had to
everybody's just
yeah. I said they should have the one where you go out and you don't want to shoot your rifle because you don't want to clean it yet. So you just go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, but that just immediately, NCC, JRTC just start to spin immediately in my head right now as we start to do that. Well, good. Yeah. So, Derek, for you, I mean, obviously you did the same, very similar, right? You're in the military, and then you had a school, and then you kind of started that transition. For you, how did that happen? I mean, what did that look like, and then moving into what you're doing now?
I think that happened by probably needing to be on ADHD meds and not being on ADHD meds, because I made a lot of changes really fast coming out of the military. Like I was set on the fire department. I had already done EMT before the military. I got out. I did it again. I was about to join a department, and I like walked around the building and was talking to them. They're setting up my academy day to go and start training. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is like kind of military experience, and I don't want that anymore. Like, I don't want that structure anymore. And I just immediately pivoted. I decided to go back to school for aviation stuff, to do it civilian side, which is what I did in the military. And I got there, got to the school, didn't like it. And it was like, I think I'm going to go into like marketing management and go to normal college and just take it from there. So I went to college. I'd been playing video games on the side. I started streaming Ghost Recon Phantoms, a tiny little free-to-play Ubisoft game way back in like 2014. And at one point, it just kind of, our little team at the time there was like really well known in the community. Our stream, my stream took off kind of quickly relative to its size, 60, 70 viewers for the game, nothing crazy. And then got partnered on Twitch. Shortly after getting partnered, my grades were here real good, like 3.8 plus, doing great. And then I started taking off on Twitch, and they started going down real fast. I tried to do online, couldn't manage my time with it because Twitch was just, doing a lot more. And when I finally decided, I think I'm going to park college for a little bit and see where this whole Twitch thing goes, I that very next, what would have been my next semester, got offered that opportunity to move to Poland and commentate for ESL for Rainbow Six Siege. And that was kind of my real foot in the door into the gaming industry. Once I got back from that, my stream was doing well. Did that for a while, and I gotta say, it's gotta be one of the top most aggressive changes from the military lifestyle, like structure and rank, and hey, wake up, it's time for dental. Hey, wake up, it's time for the for a doctor's appointment, or you're gonna go get your eyes checked. Your whole life is handheld. And instead, now I'm like my own finances, my own everything. Every single aspect of my life, my income, my finances, my schedule, my lifestyle, my everything is completely up to me. No boss, nothing. And it's honestly been pretty overwhelming, but it's been really fun.
No, that's okay. I mean, we say that often, right? And I think for those that leave service, and especially those that are watching this, I mean, it's we do live in the comforts. You're living an enabled life, right?
Right.
Especially for what we're supposed to do. I just want you to do your job, but there is that transition once you leave where it's just a reality check. It's just like, right. I never pay taxes on my vehicles ever. I never pay taxes on half the property. Like I never had to do any of that. And all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, what? I got to pay that now? Like you don't realize the impact some of that has. So that's great. And
time management becomes so much harder when you're the one managing it, not all the people are above you.
Yeah, that's right. And then it's hard to find out where to go, right? Like I think, right. When everybody, we're going to talk more about it, but for all of you, and each of you already kind of said it, moving into the gaming program or in any position it's not easy. But it takes that dedication, motivation, innovation, like all of those things to really get in the position. And then once the people see you and how hard you work, then it makes sense. Then they've right. got it and they're like, yeah, we want more of you, because it all kind of comes in. Which kind of brings me into the next question, really for Lance and for Christian. And you both kind of hit on it a little bit from a military perspective. Do you think those that leave service and whether they choose to do the full time or they leave early, what are steps that they can take if they want to move into gaming? Because I think the hardest thing that I found whenever I left service, because I did want to be Lance James, right? I wanted to be have the full bear beard, if you will. But I definitely, because he's a guy that I obviously saw on Twitter back then as I was making that transition. How does somebody find that? Like, where do they go? Is there like locations or things that they can start to do now to set themselves up for success? And I'll start with you, Lance.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunities, and I'll say what's great here. Something I think Christian hit on. I think something you just mentioned is, for military members specifically, I think you gain a ton of skill sets you're not aware that you've actually gained. It's going to help you tremendously once you get to looking for a job, any job. But specifically for the gaming industry, it'll help you a ton because you will stand out because of your work ethic, because of your ability to finish a project and work with other people. All those skills are super helpful.
Problem solving.
Problem solving. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
How you handle problems, also a big one.
Yeah, that's right.
But in terms of opportunities, Ray, I talked to you a long time ago about a lot of these things, right? And there's some basic ones, and one is just don't be afraid to reach out to people, ask questions, talk to people. Don't be afraid to send in a resume. I mean, you will never get noticed if you'll never get a job if you don't apply. And
That's right.
it's got to start somewhere. Christian mentioned sneaking into E3. Previous to this pandemic, right? There was all sorts of trade shows, whether it was a PAX, an E3, a GDC, Comic Cons, which are becoming more gaming oriented, South by Southwest, tons of events to go to and to meet people and to talk to companies and talk to developers. And nowadays, a lot of those are digital, and it's still a great opportunity to connect with people and network with people and largely just talk. And once you start interacting with these people, it will help you tremendously. On top of that, it's, if there's a game you like or there's a job you like, find people that do those things and talk to them and network with them and engage with them. Social media these days is super powerful. And if you're engaging with somebody the right way, and, there is a wrong way to engage with people. You don't want to be a stalker. You don't want to be, overdoing it by any means. You don't want to wind up on the news or in jail or anything like that. But if you do it the right way, you can certainly make yourself known and, kind of carve out a role for yourself. Christian is a prime example. He started modding for Rainbow Six, right? Like he started doing that in his free time, and they noticed him, and it led him down a great path, and that's the ideal, right? That's something you want to try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. Christian?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is one, just be involved. Gaming is there's such a, and I obviously deal with this question from a lot of different folks, whether it be students or military folks, people wanting to get in the industry, people wanting to transition from other disciplines into gaming. First, figuring out what you want to do, what your passion is. Not just that you love games, because loving games is great, and the gaming industry is very rewarding, but it's also very challenging. It's extremely challenging. It's extremely competitive. So every job that you're going for has hundreds of applicants. But once you decide what you're doing, getting out and networking, getting on LinkedIn, having a good profile on LinkedIn. That states what you want to do and what your background is, having a good resume on file, and then again, when it's not COVID, going to those events, finding what local groups are in your area, whether it be gaming groups, gaming conventions, developer groups, both Unreal Engine and Unity, which are game engines. Have local community groups that get together and talk about nerding out about making games. So if you want to be a programmer or designer or artist, there's all sorts of tools out there that are free that you can get. Whether it be, again, Unreal Engine, which of course I'm promoting, but programs like Blender. Most of the big software companies will have programs for veterans. For example, I believe LinkedIn, if they're still doing it, I haven't been able to activate mine, but usually on Veterans Day, they do like a free year premium that you can sign up for. Most of a lot of the different software companies sometimes they'll have programs like that. But just getting out and networking, there are veterans in the industry, and there are veterans out there, even though, it's not something that's held up as much as maybe some other industries. But you can usually find a vet in every game studio, and they will be quite happy to talk to you about, what the studio is looking for, what it's like working in their discipline. I mean, most gaming folks, especially if you approach them on LinkedIn and just say like, hey, I want to get into games, but I don't know what kind of discipline that I want to do. I don't know if I want to be a producer. I don't know if I want to be a designer, an artist, or an engineer, or work in marketing or management or QA, whatever it may be. Almost all folks in the industry will be like, oh, well, let me tell you about my job. This is what I do, and this is what I love about it, and this is what I hate about it. And getting that information, one of the things I learned in the industry is that focus too much on what you're going to be working on. Because one, you've got it's a long career ahead of you, and there's a lot of challenges in the games. As I listed off those companies that I worked for, you're going to have opportunities. If you're talented, you're going to have opportunities to work on things you love. But also, sometimes you don't necessarily want to work on the things you love. One of the things that I look back on and I loved is that, I never got the opportunity to work really on a DC title, and so I can still really enjoy DC. I can enjoy Star Wars because I didn't work on it.
Right, it loses the magic once you're involved, right?
Exactly, exactly. It does. Once it's your job and you're banging your head against it every day, and why the character looks like that because gosh darn Bill wouldn't let me make it the way that I wanted it to be, and
all your reservations from the internet being mad about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so networking, get out there, and when you put yourself forward, I think a lot of military folks are a little concerned about coming off, especially if they're just getting out, they want to fit into the scene that they're seeing and seeing like, oh, well, all these gaming folks, they dress real casual and they act real casual, but you can just come in and be yourself. Gaming folks come from all different stripes, all around the world. We're used to working with international folks of all different backgrounds. And so, dress the way that you dress, act the way that you act, don't talk the way you talk, tone that down, but, tone the language down.
At least until you've been there for a while.
Yeah. Get comfortable, then the language can come back up. Although I've always found, at least turn it down from Marine to Army. I think that would be
well played.
Oh,
okay. But I think we're losing your connection.
yeah.
But yeah, so just get out there and embrace it. And the industry is always changing. If you would have asked me 5 years ago whether someone would get a job, playing video games and streaming it on the internet, I would have laughed at you and been like, yeah, whatever. There's always new opportunities and always new things, and being able to adapt to those new things is a critical skill, because the industry is going to be completely different 5 years from now to what it is now. And so emphasizing that ability to, improvise, adapt, and overcome, I think is key.
Yeah, and the thing I would add, even with the service members, is the spouse and the kids, right? Because for the joys and the pieces that service members bring, the spouse brings as well. Because I remember, my time away, really the person was making the decision and doing the hard work, because I like to say, was my spouse, and a lot of that was problem solving and figure. So although the task of going through a boot camp or a basic training or whatever the service is may not have applied to the spouse, what they were going through and the life that they're leading is very, is transferable, right? Because a lot of those skill sets have been moved over. And, the same thing for the kids. My story with my son is that, he is absolutely infatuated with gaming, man. I mean, he's 21 now, or he's fixed to be 21. NC State, plays on their esports team. And I mean, he is full in it, but his degree is statistics, which, initially what I didn't understand is I'm like, okay, hey man, statistics, really? That's not gaming. That's but then I come to learn as he comes home, he's like, no, hold on, Dad. Let me tell you what a gaming company has. And then he starts going through how important it is to know statistics, and you start thinking, oh yeah, I forgot. That's any position in anything. So I think part of it's to understand gaming communities are like any company. They have HR, they've got finance, they have all the skills that you need to make sure the business runs, and then you have your specialty and your technical positions that kind of outlay that, and as a team it makes it harmonious. So I just wanted to add that. And with spouses and service members and everything else kind of comes with the idea of a community, right? And I know it's definitely something that we have. It's what we all lived in the military, the tribe effect, if you will. And Ian, that's kind of what you focus your time on. So can you kind of give us an overview of what's a day in the life of Ian look like, minus the meetings? Let's just take those out. Let's pretend like those don't exist.
So many meetings. I got these demanding people. I got Punji Stick over here asking for more money and swag. And,
that's right.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
And you're like, all you get's a handshake.
Yeah, you get a firm handshake and a nod. No, it's never the same thing. twice, which I really appreciate. My old job, I did a lot of back-end data entry and reports and analysis, and it's great. You wake up every day and you pretty much know what you're going to do, but there's a monotony there. So with this, it's always something new. It's a new project that we're working on, whether it be a new community event that we want to put together, or a new stream partner, or a new tournament. But it's different pretty much every day, and it's nice because the goal of my job as a community manager is to build a community and make the community that we have love what they're part of and become little baby brand ambassadors to spread the message for us, which is the USO and our love and support of the military, and giving them the tools to want to do that. And so it's great being able to just interact with them and say, hey, you know, what do you want? You know, because it's a lot of creative flexibility for me, which I really, really appreciate. You know, I'm not really trapped in a box. So I say, hey, what do you want? And they could come far out of left field and be like, hey, we all want USO gaming stickers. And I'd be like, all right, I could probably do that. Go slap them on a stop sign somewhere. Don't do that. It's probably a crime. I didn't say that. But like, you know, like it's literally like the sky is the limit, and being able to be creative and flexible and do something like that, like I really, really appreciate. So I don't wake up and have that monotony every day. I get a new problem, I get a new challenge that I get to tackle and come up with a couple different solutions. And sometimes stuff works and sometimes it doesn't. And then the great thing is, like Ray said, and like Christian said, like then you go back and you do your AAR, your after action, and look and say, hey, that was a really cool idea. Didn't work. What can we do in the future? Or that was a great idea. Let's keep doing it. It worked really well. And so being able to flex my creative muscles around building a community of happy people it's just super rewarding.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part of your position, and really it does translate over to the gaming community. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of companies that are, you know, they have relationship managers is what most of them call them, but they're community managers, right? In some sense, they're, you know, they take a brand or a thing, and then they're making sure that they, you know, kind of where Derek kind of started, which I love with some of the folks there with Ubisoft. But you get your community to help elevate what you're doing. No different than Unreal Engine, or, you know, really all the companies have Versus Evil, all of that. I mean, each one of them has that, and it's a pinnacle piece of what we do, and obviously what gaming companies do, because we know the strength of communities. And obviously it's not new for anybody. You know, from you, Ian, what is, like, if you had to pick the best part of your job every day that you kind of come in, what do you think that is?
I get paid to spread my love of video games and the military. And that's like two things. I basically love three things on this earth. It's video games, military, and food. And I get 2 out of 3 I get paid to do 2 out of 3 on a daily basis. So like that's awesome to me. And I'm surrounded by like-minded people. I'm surrounded by people who want to talk about their favorite video game, or they want to talk about, you know, their time in the service or what they're up to right now. One of my volunteers just got back from NTC. We were talking about the training he went through. And then we evolved into talking about, you know, the new CD Projekt Red game coming out soon. So, you know, it's being able to talk about stuff I love with people that share my loves and interests.
No, I mean, yeah, and that's great. And I think, Derek, it's a good transition for you with what you do to help us. And, you know, really there's 6 total that are USO Gaming ambassadors right now that come in to put on entertainment, is the best way to kind of put it. So, you know, how did you go down that path of wanting to become part of the USO Gaming Ambassador Program, and then now have the ability to stream for folks globally?
It's actually pretty funny, because I stumbled upon partnering up to stream for the USO on my way to stream less. My goal this year was to kind of put streaming down to a side gig. You know, it's as awesome as streaming has been. I've gotten to that point where I don't want my popularity to be the number one main source of my income. At the same time, it's a really stressful thing to have, like, oh, people for some reason like me less this month, which also means I have less money for bills this month at the same time. As a direct result, for some reason they're not tuning in, and so, you know, and then it goes back up and you're happy and everything's good. So I was trying to, you know, move into, you know, you guys with your normal jobs in the gaming industry, and go down that road. You know, made my resume, started passing it around a little bit. And a relative of mine, a cousin, actually works at the USO, and she kind of started floating. She heard that the USO was getting up into gaming and wanted to start moving in this streaming and gaming direction. And she's like, oh, well, my nephew does that. I got to see what I can do. She floated my thing around a little bit, eventually found your name, Ray. And that kind of, she called me up and was like, do you want to sit in a meeting with some people from the USO and ask them what they're doing with video games? I'm like, I'll try it. Sure. Yeah. I did I loved the USO while I was in, I think, I'm 99% sure it was the USO that brought, I think we had Mark Wahlberg come out to Afghanistan and just come and premiere The Fighter when that movie was coming out. And that was a really cool experience. I'm like, wow, I got, little quick meet and greet and little selfie with Mark Wahlberg and stuff. That was neat. Definitely a morale booster deployed. So I knew what the USO was. I thought to myself, it'd be awesome to be involved with something that both had an impact while I was back in the military and now is trying to get into gaming, which has had a huge impact on my life now post-military. So it seemed like a perfect fit.
Well, great. From a streaming standpoint, because, a lot of folks look at it and I've always been, one of the guys behind the scenes because I just know everybody you talk to, especially with Twitch partners, I think people see a stream and to really make that stream what it is and just the amount of work that goes into that. It's not as easy as just going, flipping on the on button and then, you're streaming a video game and people just come and like it. And I think of many of the folks that are listening today, they wanted to know, what's a day like? What is it like setting up, a stream and then the pieces that go along with that, while also making sure you have the right system and all of that. So what does a day look like for a Twitch partner or somebody who's doing this? It's
I would say, at my peak, it was back peak Rainbow Six Siege when I was the most busy I ever was with this whole streaming gig. I would say it was pretty complicated. Obviously at the core, the fundamentals is log in, play video games, and say hi to chat and say thanks for some subs and tips and stuff and hop off. But I'm also you got to stay current with technology. It's constantly better streaming, better encoding software, better video games. You need to be able to troubleshoot everything and not just the stuff that you can Google and have 12,000 other people with the same issue, but the new things, the little things, mixers. Using a mixer with a 2 PC setup is not something that was very Googleable 4 years ago because it was a very, very niche thing that not a lot of people are doing, right? And now we have technology like NDI and all these other different. So you need to be a tech guru. You need to be your own IT, and come up with all the constant problems coming on. You obviously need, your own. You need to be your own marketing, advertising, social media manager, community manager. Those are all, I have to wake up and make sure that I never used Twitter. I never thought I would need a Twitter handle in my life. But now it's a fundamental part of waking up, staying engaged, interacting with viewers and people who follow me and all that, and then interacting with friends and staying current and devs and all that. And then of course, when sponsors come in, you need to be able to negotiate your own, you need to know your worth, negotiate your own contracts, figure out all that stuff all on your own, know how to talk to companies, know how to reach out to companies or pick up management. And then, and then at the core of it, you got to also have the energy and be fun and enjoy the video game you're playing, stay current with what games matter on Twitch, what people are into, you need to be able to follow and read all your statistics, your analytics, all that stuff. So it becomes a lot of side work beyond just playing video games. But
again, it's like you're running your own business, but
right.
You're filling all of the pieces, all at the same time.
Right. Most streamers, I think, once they cross a certain point, most incorporate or become an LLC of some kind as well. Yeah. It's a lot also do YouTube, a lot also do all those other things, and so it gets pretty involved around the whole sphere of things.
Yeah. And from a game, we have a lot of questions about the PCs that you use from a streaming perspective. How does somebody, if somebody has a kid maybe that wants to be in that, or maybe they do it on their own, is there a certain way that they should choose what their PC? Do they just go to the local store and purchase one, or is there a better way to do that?
Nowadays, I think it's a really awesome time for streaming because a thing that I think super important is it's like trying to get into acting or saying you're going to drop out of high school to start a band or do any of those things. Like, it could happen. You shouldn't not try to do that.
That's right.
But you also shouldn't throw your entire life away and just say, that's it, I'm going to be an actor now. You can't do that. So the thing that I always say is, like, you shouldn't be spending crap tons to have a dual PC setup with studio lighting and, a Sony camera and blah, 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 and all that stuff. You should just get what you need to have acceptable audio, acceptable video, and the game runs. And nowadays with NVIDIA's NVENC and things like that, one computer with any semi-modern card, anything with a 10 series graphics card or better is going to be perfectly fine for streaming. It uses almost no resources. It's really all you need. Most decent headsets, the cheapest version of this Arctis headset has a by far good enough microphone to stream, and it's like $60 or whatever. It's a very cheap setup now, I think, to get started and ready, and then maybe a capture card if you want to do console, things like that. So
it's like going into business. You got an opportunity to work out of home, or you can go buy a 3-story building.
That's right.
You probably want to work at home first.
Yeah, maybe before you take. Maybe know that there's an office and a business in the first place before you go.
Yeah, you may want to just
crazy.
So I get, I know there's a lot of talk about esports in general, and I'm going to kind of put this to everybody here. And the one thing with esports is, watching my son now over the last 10 plus years, and the gamification of getting to the top, right? Like getting to be in the top of a game. Right now, TFT is like him, and I think he's like in the top 100 or something, right? It's ridiculous, but he's playing all the time, right, to get to that. And I see the taxation it does on him. I see I always thought that, maybe there isn't a physical aspect of this because I just didn't really think about it, but there is. Like, there's a physical, a mental aspect that gamings provide. So one of the questions from the group was, what is your thoughts about gaming becoming part of the Olympics? When do you see that happening? Is it something that you see is needed? Like, we should have already been there? Or is it just something that you see? Yeah, I can see the understanding of it. It just takes a little bit more time. And I'll start with Lance.
So I might be the odd man out here, but I'm gonna say more on the no side. I think of the Olympics as a set series of events, right? And I'll just say basketball, for example. The rules don't change that much. The overall idea doesn't change that much. You don't play basketball or powerlifting or whatever you're doing, right? Your event doesn't change that much. Gaming in general changes so much. The hardware changes so much. Then the individual games from year to year and year over year change so much that it might be, I think it's super rare that Counter-Strike has been around for as long as it has been. It's the one outlier as far as I'm concerned. You get other games that come and go, like Dota and Dota 2, that they have their highs and their peaks. But then you might get a League of Legends pop up for 5 years. Then you might get Apex Legends come in for a year, then it might go out for a year. It's just, I think we're gonna see the best of those games. But if it's one of those things where it's hard to say gaming without having a constant game there year over year over year, that we can truly say what's best. Now, Olympics, but if there's an ESL out there, or maybe I used to play in the World Cyber Games, which was sort of like that, but that sort of organization do something like that, sure. But for the actual Olympics, I'm probably no, just because it's hard to quantify.
It makes sense. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, where it is. Like, it's a very regimented, that entire thing's regimented. Like, what you're getting into when you come into it. So
what I heard from what Lance said is Counter-Strike Olympics.
Yeah. That's what I heard as well.
It's been there.
It's a no unless it's Counter-Strike. Then it's a yes. Yeah. Okay. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah. Counter-Strike only, but it has to be 1.7. And it is
DOS only.
No, this has obviously been a question that's been growing, in the industry, that gets asked every few years as we've seen the growth of esports and the growth of streaming in general and viewership. Obviously I work at Epic and I joined Epic the week that Fortnite went free to play. And so it's been a crazy ride. But yeah, I mean, that consistency of, that this idea that if you are competing in biathlon in the Olympics, you're competing in the same sport that was, 50, 100 years ago, even though obviously things change and evolve, and I'm sure I just offended a bunch of biathletes, but gaming is not static, and how do you vet that? How do you decide which company is, and the products also are inherently for profit, right? You can't just get together and play League of Legends without League of Legends, the product. You can't just practice that in your backyard. And so, again, and I'm not speaking for any gaming company. This is just my thoughts right now. I don't know quite how it would fit as an Olympic event specifically. Now, obviously, I think esports and different leagues and different tournaments, we should continue to support them. And the more channels that we can feed that to the mainstream, and bring in mainstream acceptance of it, and acknowledgement that gaming in general is bigger than Hollywood box office. It's time that gaming as a skill and a sport, I think, is recognized. Whether it's just the question of whether specifically for the Olympics is the right thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Derek, what do you think?
I think you should have started with the college dropout first, then gone to the gaming industry people after, because I mean, Lance and Christian already nailed my entire opinion, and I don't really I can't add anything to that, really.
Hey, no,
they pretty much nailed it. I love it. I love the idea of it. I think Counter-Strike would be the only thing that would be even remotely consistent enough across gaming to be considered that Olympic vibe, I guess.
Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the big two things that I'm thinking about just gaming the Olympics is that it's it's kind of like Lance said, is you have football, or you have for Olympics, you have basketball, or you have diving, or you have skiing. You have all these different very clear sports, but video games are not a catch-all. Are you playing Madden? Are you playing League of Legends? Are you playing Counter-Strike? Right? Like, then they're very, very vastly different games with very different audiences. And then the other thing is if you say, all right, let's pick arguably the most popular esport in the world, depending on who you ask or what your metrics are. Let's pick League of Legends. I've never gone curling in my life, but I can understand the rules of curling after about 5 minutes. I've played League of Legends, and I still don't understand the rules of League of Legends. So, the purpose of the competitors is there to represent their country, but you still need to have an audience. You still need to have spectators. And yes, the League of Legends audience would understand it, but you wouldn't get new viewers for something like that.
But if you talk the real most popular one, Counter-Strike, then everyone can understand it.
That one is, but then there's the whole we're shooting people in the
face
for entertainment. So, and then they're saying, what does Rush B Suka mean? So it's going to be like one of those things that, maybe not we put on TV. But the other thing too, I will say though, that I'm really glad that we do have industry professionals and gaming professionals talking about it, and we're approaching it from a gaming enthusiast perspective. But the easy thing that people in the crowd might be thinking is it's video games. Like it's not athletic. I mean, these pros, they work 13, 14 hours a day practicing. They will put their body and their brain through all kinds of basically trauma to get to the level they're at. You don't play a video game for 2 or 3 hours a day, or maybe 6, 7, 8 hours a week, and get to anywhere close to touching the pro level. I mean, you have to invest all of your time and energy. So I would definitely consider them athletes and competitors. Just in the realm of the Olympics, I'm not sure how video games fits. It doesn't wedge in there well.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point. That, nothing I said takes away from the fact that competitive esports is an athletic sport, right? Yep. We've all been at the range all day, and you're just as tired. You're at the range because you're using similar body sets, right? Your mind, your whole body is involved in that when you're doing gaming. And anybody who says it isn't hasn't done a marathon competitive gaming session.
No, that's right, and that's what runners do, right? Like they don't go run a mile and they go run a marathon. That's not how it works. Like you're putting your body through that abuse really to get so your body is used to it, right? It's so that you get all of those feelings when it happens. When you hit the wall, which runners know the wall for sure. When you hit that wall, you've got to get past it. And if you've never hit the wall, you're not going to get past it. And I think then when you add the idea of esports, and it's like being a professional sports player, I just remember playing high school sports and then people watching me and being a pitcher. And the first time I got on the mound, it was like the scariest thing I'd ever done in my entire life, right? Because I'm like, I got all these people staring at me, and I know if I throw a ball, they're just going to judge me. Like that's all I could think about for my entire first season. But that just started to go away over repetition over repetition. So it's definitely that. Okay, so I asked you guys your top 3 games. Now we're gonna make it easy, right? All time. Now we're gonna go. What is your go-to game today? As soon as you get off of here, what are you going to? And let me make it easy for you. You're not allowed to say a game that you currently are involved with. It should be something that you absolutely play each and every day. So let me start with Lance.
So I'll fully admit I've got hunting season coming up, so my gaming time is going a little bit downhill these days.
So you're practicing on duck hunt?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I would have to say Warzone. Something I still play with a couple of my colleagues from work. It's just something we do after hours to kind of unwind a little bit. That's Call of Duty Warzone. Yeah, I guess that's my vote.
Okay. All right, Christian.
For me right now, it's BattleTech, PC strategy game. I was a huge fan. BattleTech, when I was 11, was one of the first pen and paper games that I really got into. And the new version that came out by Harebrained has just kept me. I'm just trying to min-max it. I've got to get all the max. I've probably got 600-800 hours into it. And I've gotten a good rhythm down, and it's just a really well-based or well-designed turn-based strategy game. And, being a dad now, my kids are 9 and 11, I can pick it up, I can play it, and if something pops up, it's turn-based. So I just set it down and I walk away, and I come back 2 hours later and it's still there and I can still play it.
Big benefit.
You start to appreciate, pick up and play when you can just get up and walk away from something. So although I've been at some point, I'm gonna crank up before hunting season for me. I got to crank up Doom because I've got it. It's in my queue. I need to play it before the next gen comes out.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. All right, Derek.
So polar opposite of a pick up and play. I this year, in order to achieve escapism from 2020 until life starts back up a little bit again, I fell down a rabbit hole with this weird little indie game made by this small 12-man Kazakhstan team. It's called Will to Live Online, and it's like if any of you guys have played any of the Stalker games back in the day, like Shadows of Chernobyl or Call of Pripyat, it's like that but online, and it's like a really grindy like old school MMORPG with some pretty fun like faction versus faction shooter mechanics that are like actual good, not like the Division 10 magazines to kill one person, but like an actual it's like a shooter but a full RPG, like full on grindy long RPG with that like Stalker Chernobyl type post-apocalyptic vibe.
Nice.
It's really fun.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, Ian.
Well, everyone is going hardcore with their choices. I am the other end of the spectrum. I have been playing with the USO community and in my free time Among Us. I'm sure if there are any people under the age of 18 in the audience watching this, they are watching their favorite streamers play it for sure. All the big names are doing it now, but it's the most fun. It just basic little detective who done it in space with little cartoon characters. It's fun for you. It's fun for your family. It's fun for your kids, your spouse. It takes like 30 seconds to learn how to play, but once you do, there's so much little intricate you get into the weeds with it, and you'll find yourself just lost in it for hours. So it's a blast, and I've been playing it. I will probably be playing it tonight as well. Absolutely, yeah.
So for the older generation, I equate it to like Clue. It's a little simpler to understand, but that's the best way to kind of put it.
Well, it's taking the world by the storm right now.
Yeah, no, it is. It absolutely is. Well, I absolutely want to thank each of you. Obviously, when I sent the email out to each one of you, I think within minutes I got reply back that you were absolutely interested. So, thank you for doing this for the USO, and more importantly for the folks watching. I know they're going to appreciate some of the good discussions that we've had here. I just want to open it up real quick. Is there any comments from y'all at all, or anything you want to kind of end on?
Yeah, I'll start. First, I will just say to each of the military service members and their families that are watching this, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. Everyone in this chat knows what you do every day. We genuinely, I'll say it for us. We genuinely appreciate what you do, and I'll say from the USO, you know that we love you and what you do. I will also say that this whole experience has been talking about how to get into the gaming world, and Christian really nailed it when he started talking about all the different things that are in a gaming studio, whether it be a developer, a Q&A, engineers, audio, art, all the different things that are there. So when you think about getting into gaming, parents, if your kids are talking about it, or service members, if you're thinking about getting into gaming, it's not just I want to play video games for money. It's an entire career field. The USO, if you hop on our Discord, we're starting a program in the very near future where we're going to be doing similar to this, but it'll be live Q&A sessions. It's going to have visitors like Derek, our friend Punchy Stick here. Maybe I can get the two other guys in here to join sometime, as well as a Twitch employee. And we're going to actually be going into in-depth conversations about how to become a streamer and what to look out for as far as protecting your brand online and marketing it, and how to be successful. Derek went on like a little 30-second spiel about basically you need to own your own business, but we're going to teach you how to do that. And we also, for the younger people in the room, the parents in the room, if your kids are into video games, into esports, and you want them to go that college route, colleges, there are literally hundreds of colleges now that offer esports scholarships. And we're going to have a Twitch student employee talking about that as well. So hop on our Discord, discord.gg/USO, and I'll make sure he'll put a link up there for it and everything whenever this is actually broadcast. But we want to help you succeed. Everyone in this chat wants to see every single person succeed in what they want to do. And if it's video games, I want to help you get there as part of the USO community. So please do that. And thank you I'm sorry for taking everyone's time. Thank you for
No, that's great. Anybody else? Any other comments from the group?
Yeah.
No, he took all the time.
He did actually take all of it.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, I do want to give it just a shout out to the USO. I've always appreciated what you've done. I've actually participated in quite a few USO events over the years. Although the one gripe I had is when we launched Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, they said, hey, we need someone to go out to the USO and do an event. And I'm like, sure, I'll go. And they're like, okay, we'll go out to Bragg. And be awesome. So I got my car full of Xboxes, and they're like, and cool. So thanks for volunteering for this, because otherwise we would have had to fly you out to the event in the launch party in LA with Rick Fox and so good that you're going to Fort Bragg and doing this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. So I got to be at Bragg when Advanced Warfighter launched. So thanks, USO. That's awesome.
All right, we owe you a meeting with Rick Fox. I got it. All right.
Yeah, we got it. We'll fix it.
We'll make it happen.
All right, Lance.
Yeah, just a quick thank you to Ray, Ian, you guys doing some great work with USO. And just echo Ian's comments. Big props to service members that are still serving, and your families, and everybody out there. Thank you.
Great, Derek. Anything for me?
Just the same. Thanks a lot for having me, and of course, if you're getting out of the military and getting into gaming, have fun with it, but stay in school until it's right not to.
Oh.
Yep.
I can't just say stay in school, because I did drop out, but it was after it was really good.
Yeah, I dropped.
Everybody was with you until you said that.
Go back.
Yeah.
After you drop out.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm sure I'm gonna finish it. That's the big thing. It's like I can do that. You only get so many opportunities to do something like that, like do something like Twitch or whatever, and And college it's there, so still got the door open, right?
Well, great. Well, this is a wrap. So from us to all of you watching, thank you for your time today. We hope you're enjoying the the MildyCon event. Obviously, it's virtual. We all wish that we could have been there on stage and actually having this conversation. But the good news is maybe next year you may see us.
Hopefully.
And we hope to be there. We hope you're all safe. Continue to do what you're doing. And from each of us, we salute you. Thank you for your service.